Welcome. r/Talesfromtechsupport. Don't bother sending a tech, I'll be dead by then. So my story starts on what was a normal day taking calls on the front line for a large cable company. The job pays well, and for the most part the people I deal with are fairly nice to talk to. Quite often we'll get calls from seniors, especially in the morning, who have premise equipment issues such as snow on screen or no signal on their TV sets connected to our digital equipment. Now my heart does go out to some of these folk, because up until recently, past few years, we would supply straight analog cable to many homes, coax direct from wall to TV with scrolling guide. However, most cities we service nowadays require our digital equipment to receive channels, and this has caused a lot of frustration with older people who don't know how to operate said equipment, i.e. always having your TV set on video or me to get picture. So oftentimes we get customers who are repeat offenders with long ticket histories of these types of issues. So anyway, I get a call from an older gentleman who's quite bitter and mean right off the bat. Doesn't like that I asked for his address/telephone number to verify the account. Hates that he has to speak with a machine before reaching an agent, etc. I have some experience handling these types of customers. However, this call was going to be a little different. I spent over 45 minutes with this guy, we'll call him Mr. Smith, trying to get his TV set connected to the digital box properly so he could receive a picture. No luck. He was getting clearly frustrated by the whole ordeal and started blaming me for not being able to do my job properly, how I was useless, etc. Whatever. Like I said, I've dealt with this before. So I tried my best not to take it personally, but eventually I had to ask him if we could book a service tech to the home, a courtesy call, to get his TV working correctly. Unfortunately, our booking calendar was showing an appointment 3 days out. That's when he dropped this on me. Don't bother sending a goddamn technician, because I'll be dead by then. I'm 94 and TV is the only thing I have left. Are you really going to make me wait for a tech? I instantly felt bad. I mean, I've heard every complaint in the book as to why people don't want to wait for a tech, but this one kind of got to me. I'm in my mid-20s, so honestly I can't even imagine how it must feel to utter those words. So I spoke with my supervisor, who said they'd see if we could get someone out earlier, but we couldn't promise anything. So I let Mr. Smith know, and he was predictably not very happy with my answer. At that point it almost sounded like he started to cry and went into how he has no family left and no friends that come visit. This was after I asked if there was anyone in his building that might be able to help. Man, I felt terrible, so I took it upon myself to ask Mr. Smith if I could pay a visit. He lived in a small city over from where I was, not very far to drive. He was a little shocked I was willing to do this, but sounded thankful I was willing to come out and help him personally. So I head over, get to the residence and meet him. Within 30 seconds I had a cable running again, simple input change, and even brought him a simplified remote for his set-top box to avoid this problem in the future. That's when he started crying. He goes into how he hasn't actually spoken or really interacted with anyone for years. He gave me a hug and told me how thankful he was that I came out and helped him, and told me how sorry he was for being so mean earlier on. I said it was no problem and I was happy to help, and that was it. I left. 3 weeks later, my supervisor comes to my desk and asks me if I could come speak with her for a bit about an account for Mr. Smith. Turns out, he sent the cable company a letter outlining how thankful he was for helping him with his issue, and how it really made an old man happy again for once in a very long time. The letter was framed and put on our front entrance to retail. I guess the moral of this story is, no matter how nasty someone is to you over the phone, sometimes they are not always a terrible person and just going through a lot. I still think about Mr. Smith occasionally when I get those nasty customers, and it makes me feel a little better. Anyway, thanks for reading. Just thought I'd share how this one call changed my outlook on life. Alternative ending, with my luck. 3 weeks later, my supervisor comes to my desk and asks me if I could come speak with her for a bit about an account for Mr. Smith. Turns out, he sent the cable company a letter outlining how thankful he was for helping him with his issue, and how it really made an old man happy again for once in a very long time. My boss told me that I violated company policy by agreeing to meet a client outside of work while on a company phone on company time. I was fired for misconduct. I had a similar experience working for cable support. Got a call for internet support from an old lady. I worked on Vancouver Island in BC, and out there calls from seniors were pretty common. This particular old lady asked me if I could help her get rid of her email. Initially, I didn't understand. Did she want to delete her ICE provided email? No, she didn't care about that. She just wanted to get rid of her email. After some more questions, I realized she wanted to remove Outlook Express from her computer entirely. I calmly explained that removing OE was very difficult back in the XP days when it came with the computer as a core Windows component, and she could just remove her account. That wasn't good enough for her. She didn't want to see the email icon anymore. I asked her why. I'll never forget what she told me. I don't get many emails anymore. All my friends are dead. She went on to explain how she used to get a ton of emails all the time from her friends, but now as she's gotten older they've passed away, and she's tired of the email program reminding her that she has no one to send email to, and no email to receive anymore. Now, it was 8 PM on a weeknight. Call volume was pretty low. I had a half an hour left in my shift and no one waiting in line. I decided to screw my call stats and talk to her for a while. We ended up talking for about a half an hour. I hadn't lived in the city long, so she gave me a lot of advice about nice places to go and things to see. She talked about her favorite church. The choir is amazing. You just have to see them. They won an award, and all the things she loved about the city. On the other side of the coin, had an elderly customer come out of her apartment while I was on a T/C and was in a similar situation. No family, TV was her only company TC. She said that she didn't speak to her neighbors and hadn't had TV for a week, and asked if I'd come take a look when I was done with the call I was on. We are prohibited from even going in a house without a job number. I understand the reasoning behind this, but I figured it would just be the wrong input on the TV, as is mostly the case with elderly customers. I texted in asking for a job so I could go take a look, and was told we didn't have quota for the day. I explained it would take 10 to 15 minutes and I just needed a job number. Again refused. I go in, fix her TV, wrong input, then leave her my name and tech number for her. If she needs anybody else out, she could ask for me, since we had history. 2 weeks later I was asked to come to the manager's office accompanied by my supervisor, and written up for not using company time effectively, and falsifying company documents, because when you complete a job the system we use puts you in en route status, which for 5 to 10 minutes I used to help this customer. Turns out after I'd helped this lady, while she was in the lobby paying her bill, she asked to speak with my supervisor, to recognize me for my understanding and willingness to help somebody that didn't have an appointment. I also work for the large, hated, cable companies. I had a story like this once. I had an elderly customer who had a newspaper subscription and the paper got stolen. She called after our cut-off time, and there were no contractors that I could send out with a substitute. We could bring her a Sunday paper tomorrow, or I could credit her account. Note that she lived in a very crappy area and that there is no doubt one of her neighbors stole the paper. It was not our carrier's fault. I checked the office and found that I did have a paper that was the correct edition with the right ads, so I called her back and told her that I would personally bring her a paper when I got off work in 2 hours. She basically said damn straight you will, and that she needed to plan her shopping. I went out of my way and paid to this customer's home. I was courteous and polite and apologetic. She told me off for about 15 minutes and then threw the newspaper at me, hitting me in the face and getting newspaper all over the hallway of her apartment. She then told me to pick it up, and I told her that I wasn't on the clock and didn't get paid to be abused, and I left. She later made multiple calls to our office to complain about me. Edit. The reason I decided to bring the paper to this customer was because she was so upset about not having it. She complained and cried for a good hour about it. She is old and alone, and on a fixed income, and she plans her entire week around the Sunday paper. This lady really had been getting me in the feels. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.